Hello friends, welcome back. Ready to conquer your Azure App Service interview? We are diving into 10 plus crucial questions about deploying and scaling the application in Azure, breaking down the concepts and helping you to choose the right one so you can explain it confidently and ace that interview. So come, without delay, let's get started. Alright, so if you come to the channel video and search for interview, you'll always get a lot of important interview related videos. Alright, so in this video, we will specifically focus on Azure App Services. Now, this is the website that we were building in the last full stack development video series. I'm going to use that to go over important questions today. And if you go under the videos, you can still search for interviews here, and not only that, app service, if you search, all the app service related videos are also here. But always, I will always recap for a few minutes and then we dive into the real-time questions and scenarios. Okay, first of all, if you log into portal.azure.com and search for web app, you will find like this, app services and web app. Actually, you can click on this and start creating the web app. Now, if you have already created the web app like this is one of the web app that I created, Azure App Service web app. That's why it says, web app. So if I go under settings, under configuration, basically it will tell whatever I configured. I choose .NET, .NET 9 and all the other settings here. Okay, so every single settings that is here is what you have chosen when you started to create a web app. Now, how many of you honestly know what is happening behind the scene when we call as web app? That is what I'm going to first explain you. That will help to focus on the concept and even answer yourself. Now, I'm on my mission, which is Windows 11, and that's a home edition. It's not a server OS. Okay, so this is an operating system from Microsoft, and this is not a server OS. When we talk about server OS, it is Windows Server and Linux services, right? So both are two different OS, but they are all services. Now, if I go and search for IIS, Internet Information Service, if I open this, because I've installed this in Windows, this is opening here. So basically what will happen is the code that we build, right? The code that we build is basically deployed under a server like this, like let's say Windows Server. In Windows Server, there will be some website which we don't need to, worry about like this, right? There will be some website. You can create multiple website. Under the website, there will be multiple apps. Let's say our app name is Smart Certify API. Okay, just for sake of argument, the deployed code will be like pointing to somewhere like this. Okay, this is not the real thing, but I'm just showing you. Let's say this is pointing to some places, and there will be an Apple. Let's not go inside this, deep inside this technical stuff. Let's say I have an app like this. So when you configure and deploy these kind of configurations, what will happen? So when you hit the URL, Microsoft will know where this has to go and it will route this and request will go here. Okay, this is what is happening at a very high level. Okay, your application code is here, and when you hit your URL, for example, when I hit this URL, it knows where to go and which code to invoke. Okay, now this is what is happening in Azure Web App Service. So app service is nothing but in the same concept. They will allocate how much of memory this application, this app can use, after how long it can shut down. All of those are called app service plan. The plan pays a price, starting from the free version to the extremely isolated version where the server itself is yours. You pay for the price. Okay, so we hosted on free version. This version is free, which means somewhere in a virtual machine in Microsoft infrastructure, my code is deployed. I don't need to worry about it. After 1 hour, after 1 GB of memory, this code will shut down automatically because it's under a free app service. Okay, This is very basic. Now, based on this, and if you want more information about this, just take a look at any of the app services video. We would have started from first till end. Okay, so based on this little bit concept or brush upping, or I would say we brushed up a little bit on the concept, let's dive into the questions and I will explain you as we progress. So I logged into my this website. If I go on the course, there are many courses and we are dealing with Azure here. If I do this, we are talking about Azure App Service. I'm going to start the test. If you have already seen my previous video how we go through it, I welcome to give your feedback on how you felt, how useful it was. Okay, that will always help me and motivate me to present better and better videos and contents that will be useful for your life, that will be useful for your work. Alright, I'm gonna choose 10. Let's go over 10 and I'm gonna be in the practice mode and let's start the test. Now, as I progress, I will explain you. Okay, so let's say what is the first question? Imagine this website is an interviewer. Okay, so interviewer is asking what is the purpose of SCM site and Azure App Service. So if we don't know what it is, then that's takes us more tricky to answer. Okay, so those who are not aware of this concepts itself, right? Let me first explain you. So in Azure App Service, the SCM, that's also called Source Control Management Service, is a deployment and diagnostic endpoint provided for every app service app. Okay, so that will be hosted like this. For example, in this case, okay, it will be like this. So in our case, it is going to be, let's just go and see how things works, right? So for example, so imagine this, your site name .scm.azurewebsites.net. So that is what is called source control management. So what it is doing, this service runs alongside your application and provides a number of advanced tool and APIs for managing and debugging your app. Okay, so that's mainly for managing and debugging app. So in short, right, the SCM service is actually powered by the Kudo. That's the engine behind the Git deployment in Azure App Service. Okay, so basically this is used for the deployment and diagnostic endpoints. Okay, so based on what I said, the answer is this. How can we verify this? We can do this and basically it will tell you the short answer. SEM, which is in term, it's Kudo, that's an engine. It's for deployment log and Git integration and debug console. Okay, so for the more information, it is here. Let's move on to the second one. Alright, the next question is, what Azure feature can restrict the access to your app services from certain IP? So what it is basically saying is, if I wanted to restrict this access, like for example, I wanted to restrict, okay, only 5 people which are specifically from these IPs can access this website. If anybody else accesses this website over the internet, I don't allow them. Where can I do all of those settings? That is what the question is. So as the question is also giving us a hint, basically there is something called access restrictions. See, none of the other things will match. App insights are logging for useful logging. Service bus is a separate service. Scale setting is something related to scaling the app and up and down. Okay, so access restriction is the correct answer. All right, see, use access restriction to allow or block specific IPs or even the virtual networks, VNets. Let's move on to the next one. How can your Azure web app securely access Key Vault without storing secrets in code? All right, you see this in our website here. Okay, if I go inside this environment or maybe environment variable, okay, if I go inside environment variable, the connection string and all of those things can be configured here. See, I can show my value here, but I don't want it to show this value here. I wanted to keep this value in the Key Vault, and how this Azure App Service can access that. That is what the question is. So when we talk about a question, you should understand what they are referring to. Not only this, right? Anywhere here, even if any of the settings that you wanted to take it from the the key vault, what will you do? That's the question. And now let's go over it. Username and password in the code, that's really bad. Hard coding, not. Hard coding the secret in the app settings, which means in your project itself you can hard code it. Use system assigned manage identity and use FTP to upload a certificate. Definitely this is wrong. This is the right answer. So how am I saying this? See, this app has an identity. Okay, how do I know? If I every single service, right, will have an identity. So if you enable this identity and give access to the Azure Key Vault permissions using RBAC, then the Key Vault will allow requests coming from here to access the key. That is what it is. So this is the right answer. Okay, and don't worry if you don't know any concept, you just search with the keyword, you'll find it. Manage identity versus service principal. See, Azure Key Vault Security Guide, manage identity for Azure Web App Secrets. Great, we already have a demo. Okay, so don't hesitate to go and view such videos. And let's go on to the next one. Which of the following plans supports the auto scale and staging slot? See, auto scaling means let's say this website, let's say right now 100 people, 1000 people hit this website, it might support. What happens if 100,000 requests comes per second? The site will crash. When a traffic is coming too much, how will you auto scale? When I say auto scale, technically I'll tell you what will happen. Right now there is only one app deployed, right? Microsoft will actually mimic the same thing on a different virtual machine, which means 2 instances will come. 3 instance, 4 instance, like that, number of instances. It's called scaling up. Scaling down means number of instances reduced. Okay, remember, scaling down means we are reducing the instance, not the power of the power of the application. Like, we don't increase the power of the system where this is deployed. Okay, so now based on that, let's go to this question. If you go try creating a plan, the plan will tell what you have privileges. For example, the plan that I have is a free tier. How do I know? If you go to overview, here itself it will tell me what plan I have, or maybe under settings, under properties, so where can I see? Under either it is on overview, or just scroll down, something called app service. See my current app service plan. I am on F1 0 count, meaning I cannot scale out, because for free version, why do they give that? So there are instance, right? How many instance can be given? Based on the plan only it will come. Free tier, definitely no, because they don't support. Basic tier, shared tier, standard tier. This is the one which will have the auto scaling and deployment slot. Deployment slot means we will make a different video for explaining deployment slot. It's basically you deploy to one version, you test it out, and then you swap the code. So there will be 0 downtime in the production. Okay, that is what it is. All right. How do you enable managed identity for a Azure web app? Okay, so let's go to portal. Let's open up any one of our web app. In the left hand side, under settings, there's something called identity. Okay, under identity, there are 2 identities: system assigned and user assigned. System assigned means if you switch it on and save, there will be a unique ID that will tell who that ID is. So this object ID represents this app. So because this is enabled like this is how you enable it. Okay, and then this can be now used to give permission. For example, in the key vault question that we were talking about, right, you have to enable this, go to the key vault and search for this and give permission. So the key vault will know who is this, what permission it has. So that is what it is, right? So as we go through the question, you're also understanding concept what you're doing. Great. So let's go here. So according to what I explained, the answer is enabling it in web apps identity plate. None of them are correct. Okay, the short answer and the explanation is here, and I already explained you. Let's go on to the next one. Which method is best for a web app to connect to a Azure SQL database securely without a connection string or password? Great. See, like I showed you already, if I go to this environment settings, I have a connection string where I have placed the connection string here. The question is, you should not do it. How will you protect it? Which method is best for the web app to connect to the Azure SQL database, which is a very common thing if you're using Azure or in a cloud, securely without a connection string and a password. So what it means is basically, if I go here, this one has some username password, right? So without username password, how can this app connects to the SQL server? Is that possible? It's possible. That's called use manage identity and Azure AD authentication. So basically, SQL server is an app service. SQL service is a service in Azure. Okay, web app is a service. Web app is connecting to the database, and we just need to give the right permission. So for example, this is the answer. Let's see the explanation. Okay, see, use manage entity. This is the right one. So how you can enable this AD? Azure AD means Azure Active Directory Authentication for SQL database, and then you can assign the role based on this identity. Again, let's go over quickly. Identity, I have this one. We know who he is. We will enable the Azure AD authentication for the SQL database. We go to SQL Server and database and we do this, and then we assign this role for this particular identity. Maybe we should make a video. If you still want a video related to what I'm talking about, just put a comment in the video and I will definitely make a video for that. Alright, so that's what it is. Let's move on to the next one. What permission must be granted to the web app manage entity to read a secret from Azure Key Vault? Great. So now we know this identity can be used to go to the Key Vault and give permission. But the question is, what kind of role that you will give? What kind of permission you will give? If it is only for reading, so it clearly says to read a secret. Contributor means it will have rights to delete, update, or on all of these things. Reader is the right one which will read it. We don't need to have any of this thing. See, storage blob data reader means it's related to the storage account. Oh, so I was wrong. Okay, I totally forgot this. Alright, so if I'm wrong, this is what will happen. I just want to show you what am I going to do if I go wrong. So reader is not the right answer. The right answer is Key Vault secret user. That will give us the required permission to read the secret, because it's okay. So why it is wrong? Reader is correct, but reader is basically, it will read not just secret, everything else, certificate, everything. But the question was to read only the secret. So that's why answer is Key Vault secret user. Okay, so that will allow us to give the read permission, and here is why it is. Alright, so don't worry if you are wrong. I'm gonna come and take a test. If you're gonna wrong, it will be like this. Okay, it will tell you why wrong, what is right. Let's move on to the next one. What is Azure App Service primarily used for? So like I said, this is the app service. Why are we using it? Hosting just the static files? Not really, right? Hosting virtual machines? Definitely wrong. We are not hosting any virtual machines under the Azure App Service. Running container orchestration? No. This is also wrong. This is related to Docker. The right answer is this. We can host web app, REST APIs, mobile backends, anything. All of these things are right. So that's the right answer. Okay, so there's an explanation here, there's an answer here. Let's move on to the next one. How do you configure CI/CD for Azure App Service? So let's go over using Azure CLI only, not really, only via FTP, not, through Azure DevOps, GitHub Action and Git integration. So they're talking about GitHub where we will go to a particular repository like this. Let's say let's take any example. Okay, so let's go to this one. Okay, there is something called action. So GitHub action means this one. Okay, so you can use that, and you can go to dev.azure.com/ your organization name. We also had videos like that. So from there also you can set up the CI/CD pipeline, right? So if I go to any of this existing one and go to pipelines, I can see all the build pipelines and release pipelines that talks and that builds and basically deploys the code to the app service. Okay, so this is the right answer. Okay, all right. Which feature allows your app service to integrate with private resources like SQL Server inside your VNet? I think this is an advanced question, but it's good to know. Don't worry about it if you are not aware of this. Okay, so basically it says SQL Server inside a VNet. How will you allow this app service to integrate, the integration part? Okay, so we will have the VNet integration. That's the one which is going to help us. Okay, now if I go next, we are on the last one. See, we have most of them are intermediate and few are beginner level. Come here and honestly give what you like, what you don't like, or what you expect more. Okay, so that is what you're gonna honestly tell here. I'm gonna finish the exam, but if I go here and go to the last one, I can see what was wrong. One question was wrong, that's why 90% this is wrong. But can I go over it? Yes, of course you can go over it. Come here, if you're in practice mode, click here and you can expand this and you can see what was right, what was wrong. See, you can go over everything. Okay, so you can actually go over everything, and that's how you find what you did. Okay, all right, so this video I hope you all enjoyed and you learned something about Azure App Service and other stuff. In the next video I will make another attempt to see whether we get new questions. All right, so that is what we're going to do. And if you like this video, just hit that like button, and if you want anything specific video, just let me know in the comment section and share this with your friends. If you're not subscribed, subscribe and stay tuned. I will see you in the next. Thank you. Bye bye. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more tech tutorials. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified when we post new videos. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Happy coding!